what is it that you want to work on?
I feel like there's so many little things. My potency has dropped. Like I can just feel a shift in my energy and I can feel how it's not as amazing anymore. But I feel like something takes me out of the game. So I just felt like an instant shift just seeing those two individuals like run through so many different scenarios. My life has changed.
And so how are you feeling now about that problem that you started with?
I don't even remember the problem I started with, to be honest. Lack of potency or something like that,
Yeah,
or lack of clarity.
something taking you out of the game.
And this is actually it. This is what was taking me out of the game. It's like I'm not even playing the game. I feel like that's what it was like I thought something was taking me out, but I wasn't even on the field. Yeah, that should be a quote, by the
How
way.
does
Yeah,
that
that's so
feel?
good. That feels so in like truth, which to me truth feels really grounded. So I feel as I just said that, I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like I'm not on the field. If I'm looking for potency outside of me, like I'm on the sidelines, like I'm not even playing. Like I feel like our mind is actually so crazy. Like it's so, if our mind controls our pain, like what else could it do? You know what I mean? Like I feel like yeah, it's wild.
Went back to watch our recording and I was watching you sit, and it's funny because I've never thought of you as someone that lacks power in any way. But
Yeah.
then watching, you sitting there and being like, I feel like my potency is down to just like the version of you that I've experienced since. It's like
Yeah.
she's on the field.
Yeah. She is on the field. And you know what's so crazy is like I did I did a live today and I felt like it was my most potent ever live. I literally titled it that, and I'm sending an email that's literally going to say, this is the best live I've ever done because it is. And after our call, I was like, there was just such an owning of who I am. And you're right. It's not that I didn't know who I was, but there was just this feeling of, I almost think it was comparison to myself. Like it was almost me being so self obsessive, like looking at my past versions of what I've done. And that could be just being such a hyper performer and like reflecting, but not from a place where it's like a healthy curiosity of like, what did I do? But it was more of like an obsessed, why did it work then? Is it not working now? Why are numbers higher then? Why are not numbers higher now? Why am I like this? So I feel like through our call, you just showed me that the potency exists within me. And although I knew that at such a conscious level, like, duh, it exists within you, but there's something different when you hear something and it's said, and then you hear something and it lands in your soul.
Oh,
And then you show up from your soul, and your soul speaks very differently than like your head. So it's like when I really think about those conversations, like we've all had those like 2 a.m. conversations that are so deep and they're like soul to soul, heart to heart. And then we've also had the like, so how's the weather? And like those conversations too. So there is such a feeling within me of, oh my gosh, you've been so surfacey. You've been in the, so how's the weather sort of a conversation. And that's where I felt like I was not on the field. I was like, I built $1 million business, but I wasn't even on the field that entire time. And it was almost this feeling of God, like, put this feeling within me of like, you haven't even been playing. That was all just practice. I've got you. Like, here we go. Now we actually play the thing. Now we're actually on the field. So, when you just share, like, you look like a completely different human inside out. It's like, it's so true though, because I feel like a part of it too is like in how you show up. Like even on that call, just hearing you even reflect that back now, there's almost this feeling of like, when sometimes you get so comfortable with someone that you don't really care how you show up. It was such a reflection of that. Like that just brought that right now actually to my awareness of like, I was just comfortable. So I'm like, okay, I'm here in like my jammies or whatever I wore that day. I'll throw on a jacket and like I'm good. But and that's also how I showed up in my life and in my business was like, I'm comfortable, I'm good, like I'm here. And then I was like, I think you said this to me, or this came up through the subconscious, or whatever happened on that call, like however it happened through the potent magic. I just remember feeling like, how would you show up if you had this like $1 billion boardroom? Like, would you actually show up in like jammies and like some cool slippers, like, and just be comfy cozy just because you're comfy? Like, or would you show up? And then there was this feeling of like, yeah, that is actually who I am. I am not the one that sits back. I am the one who you watch and you're like, who is she? So it was just such a feeling of like, you are your magic. You are the one. Everything exists within you. Like, even from our conversations before and after our call, like, it has just been such a beautiful journey to reflect. Like, I dress differently now. My fitness looks different now. It's just so good. And that's starting to get up. So it's like my standards have elevated, how I'm showing up has elevated, who I'm being has elevated, my conversations, my clients have elevated. Like, just within the past week, there's been so much movement, so much more than I would say usual in terms of like sales and clients and this and that. Like, just so much has been happening and unfolding in my world. And just like you said, it's not like I was struggling before. I was good, but I was comfortable. So this was
Oof,
the conversation that took me from comfortable to where do you want to go from here?
so
So thank
good.
you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Okay,
Thank you
that
so much for
cut.
sharing. Amazing. Thank you.